What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, coming at you with another game review, this time for Knights of Pen and Paper 2, because I really did not feel like playing through the entire game after how long the first Knights of Pen and Paper game took. Anyway, so, settings are pretty much exactly the same, except I think there's slightly more detail with, you know, the ability to change the music and sound. Your game room is essentially the equivalent of the shop before. But similarly, you know, you've got tables and other room accessories that can change how the game plays out and stuff like that. Let me just go to play here, load up my profile. So I will say, trying to think, at least right off the bat, there aren't a whole lot of races to choose from. I think you pretty much just get dwarf, human, and like maybe elf to start with. You do have a couple of different like character profile type things, though. I'm not sure how else to... So, whereas in the previous game, you just had like a character name and then a class for them, you have like character race class in this one. Thus the cheerleader, dwarf, warrior. Which, yes, I realize how ridiculous it looks with the cheerleader outfit and the massive dwarf beard going on. But I guess that's, you know, just part of the added hilarity of character customization and stuff. And you might notice there's a lot more detail with like different stats and stuff. Basically, there's a whole lot more detail in a lot of ways in this game than there was in the first Knights of Pen and Paper. Otherwise, I mean, okay, the graphical style also seems to be a little bit different. Really not quite sure how else to describe that. It's almost like, you know, they did it in a different number of bits. Like, if the old one was 8-bit, which I know it wasn't, maybe it was... Okay, let's say the old one was like 16-bit. This one seems like it's 32-bit by comparison or something like that. Before I get into too much else with the game, I'm going to go up here. And by the way, the select button, which was the old thing that took you to this screen, is now what gets you up here to this top left corner. You got... I don't even know what this is. Oh, that's like the bestiary kind of thing. Okay. I hadn't even really taken much of a look at that. Soft spot unlocked. Is there a... I didn't even realize that there was that. Anyway, so apparently as you face more enemies of a certain type, you get more information about them in the bestiary here. Is it called bestiary or bestiary? I guess most people pronounce it bestiary. I don't know. That's just a general help tutorial thing, I think. Yeah, anyway. But then you've got the magazine stuff here, which is kind of a way of unlocking more stuff in the game. Some of them will be items, like I got these scarabs already. Some of them will be different player types. And there's also, I guess, I don't know if it's DLC per se. It says DLC there, so you could basically use the in-game gold to buy the DLC within the game, or like, maybe because this is technically the Deluxiest edition, this might not be the original Knights of Pen and Paper 2, it might come bundled with the DLC or something, I don't know. But in the Deluxiest edition, at least, you can just use the gold from in the game to unlock DLC, which I've already done that for one thing, because I reached the level that it said it was recommended. I have no clue what this stuff is. It just... yeah, anyway. So yeah. Unlockables that you can just pay for within the game. And I guess that's also a way that the game can kind of, especially with the DLC stuff, because those are designed for certain levels, certain player levels, it would seem. So I guess that might be a way that the game kind of keeps that locked behind, or it keeps you from accidentally waltzing into that before you're ready. Anyway. So, those are some of the biggest differences. There's also like an investigation thing at some locations. You, each of your characters rolls a d20, and if they get above a certain number, you get like an investigation point that leads to opening these chests, which will give you, I mean, usually, at the very least, the last one at a certain location will give you an item that you then can use. Like, it's just an item that gets placed in your inventory. So, yeah, lots of stuff looks a little bit different, but in essence, it's still very much similar. Except, I don't think... okay, you can buy that. That's the only... You can't buy those, like, greater XP potions like you could in the first game, and just get massive amounts of XP that way. So it would seem. There's also a vault in this. So you can, like, kind of store some of the items you don't need. Oh, I already have that. Okay, I guess I could sell off those vowels, because that's really the only purpose of having any of those vowels was to craft that. That's another thing, too. You can craft items. You follow these, like, recipes or whatever, and then you get... like, you use the stuff on the left to craft what's on the right of the thing there. Like, if you go up here and look right above where I have this now, you see ingredients on the left and the item you get on the right. Really, most of this doesn't seem terribly... like, it doesn't seem that it would make a massive difference in what you would... in how you would end up playing the game overall. Except for maybe these enchantment things. But anyway, I digress. You've also got this where you can... I mean, kind of like before, even though I never used it, there was a feature where you could essentially remove a character from your party in order to bring another one in if you wanted. And that's part of how you can go through all the different character types and classes and all that. Let's see. The map, you know, is kind of a little more colorful, a little more detailed, I would say. But, otherwise not terribly different. I mean, by the way, if you haven't watched me play through the first Knights of Pen and Paper game, I realize I'm making a lot of comparisons to it, so maybe at least check out an episode or two of that in order to better understand what I'm saying about this game. But anyway, so there is a little bit of a difference, though, in that when you're on this screen, it'll actually show you the number of side quests available as opposed to, like, the main quest stuff. Like, if you look at kind of towards the middle bottom of the screen right now, you got the yellowish exclamation mark. That's like a story mission. But then the bluish one to the right of that is like a side quest. And because the DLC, it is possible to have more than one story mission available at a time. But, yeah, otherwise, I don't know if there's a whole lot that I would say is very different with this. Except for kind of one last big thing is the use of die rolls is far more significant in this game. As I mentioned, die rolls are used in the investigation stuff. I mean, die rolls while traveling was kind of the same as before, but now there are also die rolls for just characters, like, getting out of a status effect. I don't know if I'd really be able to demonstrate that within a battle or anything. I could try. Also, let me just do this because I can to show you something else. And I'm specifically adding a variety of enemies. Oh, right, that's a thing too. There's like environmental effects. So in this place, there's a thing called mob, where you can read it there, but it says at the beginning of each round, there's a 25% chance for a thief to join the battle. Yeah. So anyway, on to the status effect thing that I was talking about. So, you'll note this says adjacent enemies, but you'll see it affect all of them, because I have a certain room item. There you go, you saw him roll out of the burn effect. But, I have a room item currently equipped that makes it so anything that I do that says it affects adjacent enemies actually affects all of the enemies. So, when I read that that was a thing, I was like, well, heck yeah, that sounds super helpful. Oh, dang it. Poison, not fun. Based on what I've seen so far, it seems a little more difficult to really get equipment that gives significant boosts to your party. Seems to be a little bit more level-based that way. But, whatever. Trying to think if there's anything else here. So there's some stuff related to your characters that are straight up passives. I think there used to just be one of those before. Like, I used Miss Goldberry in my playthrough of the first game as the knight, and she just inherently, because of being Miss Goldberry, got, I think, an extra 2% XP. So, for this character being the rocker, they get the heavy metal passive there. Receive no energy penalties from equipment. The ambition passive, I think comes from just being human. Yeah. Considering all the other humans have that, and the 2 other dwarves have this fortitude passive, that's what I'm going with. And then, like, the character class is what affects these other abilities, which can be passive or not. So, in that way, things are kind of similar. Definitely a little more... Well, I don't know if it's that much more detail with the stats. I don't remember the damage reduction being a thing before. So each character is going to have 3 primary... I don't know if you'd call them base stats or what, but like... You see these 3 things here that I'm going back and forth between. So there's body, senses, and mind. And you can kind of read the descriptions of them there. I don't know if that... Okay, so... They do kind of affect certain roles that would happen during the game. Oh yeah. And there are also, like, secret things. They're like secret encounters that will just kind of come up randomly. I don't even know for sure what triggers them or like what effect they have overall. I mean, some of those have like given me different items or it's almost a thing where you can like have a choice of what happens in the encounter, and what you get or don't get is kind of based off of that. But anyway, shoot, I didn't even say anything at the end of the previous battle that I wanted to... So, the reason I intentionally fought different kinds of enemies in that battle before is that there's actually a variety bonus to the XP that you get at the end of the battle. So that was something I noted that I thought was I thought it was pretty much undoubtedly a good addition to this game over, you know, the first game. Because before it was just pretty much purely based on the enemies you were facing and the number of them that you face at a time. See here. Really just about the only thing I don't like in this game compared to the first one is that you have to back out of your save file to get to the game room here. Where's the thing I have? Okay, there's the thing that, you know, affects... basically turns all enemies into adjacent enemies. This is something I kind of had in the previous game, but it was just like automatic. Like you didn't have to switch between like it seems you would here. So yeah, anyway. They're also, I don't know what else to say, because, I mean, that really is the only big negative that I would put against this game. Other than, again, I guess, like, I'm not sure I like the fact that your stats don't change a ton based on your equipment and such, seemingly. Maybe that's just one of those things where it's like, yet. Doesn't change a lot yet. But yeah, otherwise very, very similar to the first Knights of Pen and Paper game. If you want to check that out to sort of compare for yourself and know a little more of what I'm talking about, go right ahead. But yeah, really isn't too much else that I think I have to say about this. It very similarly has kind of popular and or geek culture references. And the story is like... So, I'm not gonna, like, spoil anything here, because you would, like, run into this right away while playing the game, but the big story surrounding this one involves, basically a previous player who is, like, super, like, maxed out, over-leveled, overpowered, and is just, like, bored with the game and is now kind of just wreaking havoc on the game that you're playing now as, like, a newer player. But, yeah. I don't know if I really want to get into any of these quests. Maybe just to kind of... I don't know for sure if any of these would have any of the stuff that I'm talking about. Yeah, on the whole, I'm really not sure how I would rate this game. I haven't exactly played through all of it, as you can tell, but I mean, it's good. I don't know if I'd say it's great. Kind of basic in a lot of ways, but at the same time also surprisingly detailed in some other ways. So I don't know. It's like sort of a really boiled down RPG, just like designed to capture and almost kind of poke fun at the primary RPG aspects and tropes and things like that. So I think it definitely does a good job at that, which is its intent. You know, again, kind of almost poking fun at the stereotypical RPG. And also kind of like, as I said before, the like popular / geek culture references and stuff that are littered throughout. Like, I'll give you an example. So, these vowels that I got here were part of a quest, you know, where they said, oh, you gotta collect these vowels to give them to these people, and then you gave them to the people, and they were like, yeah, we sell these off. Basically, they said they sell them off to, like, game shows. It was essentially a giant Wheel of Fortune reference, because it was like, yeah, we sell these vowels off, and then the game shows sell them off to the contestants, making reference to, you know, Wheel of Fortune, where you buy a vowel and that sort of thing. Yeah, anyway, speaking of which, I'm gonna sell those off. Oh yeah, other tiny little detail I just noticed. So if you go to anything consumable while you're examining your character will open their mouth as if it's like they're ready to eat whatever it is. Consumable, not consumable. Consumable, not consumable. Or I guess it technically is consumable, but it's like not beneficial to your players. It's consumable in that it's like a one-time use item. But anyway, I'm digressing now. So, geez, if I was gonna give this game a rating, I mean, it's a game that seems kind of basic, but at the same time, there are layers of detail and complexity that if you really dig deep into it, it's not as basic as it seems on the surface. But it's not so advanced that you can't play it and understand it at a more basic level. But also, the main thing I like about the game is that it knows what it is, which is basically a parody of your stereotypical RPG. So, I'd like it, but I don't know if I'd say it's great. It's not a game that, like, super duper captures my attention, but it's not bad, I guess. It is kind of hard at first, though. I think the first game was kind of like this as well, at least with the first playthrough of it, where it was like, you got to be real careful before you get a full party built up and all that. But anyway, I don't know. Rating out of 10, maybe like a 7-ish. It's pretty good, but it's not like amazing. There isn't much of anything that's really going to blow you out of the water with it. Unless, you know, the story takes some crazy unexpected turn that it ends up being surprisingly good there. But anyway. Alright, well, I guess that's all I have to say on this game. That is plenty long enough for a review. I've pretty much covered everything that there is. So yeah, there's the old sleeping mechanic. That hasn't changed from the first game at all. And the shop really hasn't changed much either. A lot of things haven't really changed much, other than what I've already covered. So anyway, alright, that's it. Enough rambling. That'll do it for this video. So, yeah. As always, like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with others if you want them to see it. If you want to see more stuff from me, subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to get updates when I post new stuff. You can look down in the description as well for info on my other social media pages and how to find and follow those. Just in case you'd rather, you know, use that as a way of keeping track of my activity instead. But yeah. Below all that, leave any comments that you have on other games you want me to play through or just review or whatever. Any ideas that you have or thoughts in general, let me know down below. So that's it. I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.